Mercedes fans and Lewis Hamilton had high spirits coming into the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, with the team's motorsport strategy director James Vowles reassuring Hamilton and the fans that a plethora of improvements were on its way for the race at Imola. But things would go as horrible as the weather in Imola, with Hamilton finishing in P13. While Hamilton was glued to the back of an AlphaTauri for much of the race, his teammate and newcomer George Russell ended in P4 and becomes the only driver this season to finish within the top 5 in all the races. With that in mind, is it now safe to say that Hamilton is now past his prime and the Mercedes should now focus on building up Russell for the future? Stick around to find out. After being stuck in P14 for the majority of the race, with the W13 clearly lacking the pace to even get side by side with the AlphaTauri, team principal Toto Wolff apologized over the team radio after the race, saying, "Hi Lewis, sorry for what you had to drive today. I know this is undrivable and not what we deserve to score as a result. This was a terrible race. We will come out of this." Toto would then argue for his driver in an interview with Sky Sports F1, saying that Hamilton was stuck in a DRS train behind Albon and Gasly, and that it's virtually impossible to overtake when the car you're trying to overtake also has DRS. If Hamilton's string of poor performances has shocked you as it has us, then why don't you subscribe to DRS Zone for more content like this? Now, Mercedes fans would also argue on Hamilton's behalf, citing his bad luck after his pit stop when he got cut off and made contact with Alpine driver Esteban Ocon on his exit out of the pit stop. This incident would knock Hamilton back a few spots and cost him a chance to battle into point-scoring positions. But former Mercedes driver Nico Rosberg would argue that these reasons aren't an excuse for Hamilton to perform so badly. Nico would say during the telecast, "Let's not forget that Russell is in P4 with that same car. So Lewis definitely had a big role to play in that poor result this weekend." Nico would also comment on Wolff apologizing to Hamilton over the team radio after the race, saying, "Here Toto was playing the mental game, which is very smart on his behalf again, taking the blame themselves and really trying to support Lewis mentally, lifting him up and saying that it wasn't Lewis's doing, it's on us." And as for Hamilton, the British driver has acknowledged that he's out of the title contention, saying in an interview, "I'm out of the championship for sure. There is no question about that, but I'll still keep working as hard as I can to try and pull it back together somehow." The worst part of Hamilton admitting defeat is that his teammate George Russell is 3 spots ahead of him. Russell would also show off his skills by defending against former Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas during the last laps of the race and keeping his P4 standing till the finish line. As stated earlier, Hamilton would fight all race long to get ahead of Pierre Gasly's Red Bull-powered AlphaTauri. Gasly was asked after the race on whether it was difficult to defend against the Mercedes. Gasly replied with, "Well, I would not say easy, but it wasn't too hard. Unfortunately for him, he always gets stuck behind me on tracks where it's extremely hard to pass. But I think I was as frustrated as he was. Just for whatever reason, even with the DRS, this year was very tough to pass here." And to add insult to injury, as Hamilton was figuring out a way to get past Gasly, on lap 41, Hamilton got lapped by race leader and former rival Max Verstappen. Helmut Marko would take this chance to throw a little jab at Hamilton in an interview, saying, "I mean, he was lapped by us, so maybe he should have stopped last year," he's thinking maybe. Hamilton signed a 2-year extension just as the new season was starting and has expressed on numerous occasions that he has no plans on pulling the plug early. And as for Verstappen, the Dutch driver would stick to his non-controversy seeking self, saying, "I mean, they've been slow all year, so it's not really a surprise, or I feel happy lapping Lewis compared to anyone else. But it is what it is." Now, most people would expect Russell to be basking in his wins right now, especially coming from Williams, who were for the most part of his stay there fighting for P10. But Russell isn't and is actually feeling uneasy with his lead over his teammate. Russell would say in an interview after the race, "I think it's just how things fall out sometimes on a race weekend. I made a very strong start. I don't know what happened to him at the start, but we are equally struggling. I expect him to come back so strong, and the way he's pushing and motivating the team is inspiring. I'm not getting comfortable with this position because I know what he's capable of." Rosberg would surprisingly also come to support Hamilton, saying, "I think he will manage because he is a fighter. There is always going to be that thing of wanting to beat your teammate. That is going to be really, really important to him. And with George performing so well, that could be the biggest motivator for Lewis to keep going because he does not want to see George in front of him ever again. I think that will keep the fire on." As we stand, Russell is 21 points ahead of Hamilton in the driver's standings. While they both have the same car, it is undeniable that bad luck has come to visit Hamilton more than Russell. But is it just that, or is this really the start of Hamilton's decline as Nico Rosberg sees? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to DRS Zone.